What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Up front is a 3.6 liter V6, and down below is a 5-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Jeep Grand Cherokee for a couple of reasons. First of all, I've always had a soft spot for these WK2 generation Jeep Grand Cherokees. I grew up with a couple of people that had them. The XJ was a little bit before my time, so this was kind of the Grand Cherokee while I was growing up, so I have a certain soft spot for it. The second reason is the fact that I think this is kind of interesting. It has some interesting, unique, early WK2 features, mainly with the rear glass that we'll talk about, and I'm excited to share that with you today. But if you would like your vehicle filmed in a video similar to this one, you can head over to my website, zachpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, and you would get a video of your car, just like the one you're watching now, of this Jeep Grand Cherokee. But let's get back to that 3.6 liter V6. Well, when this Jeep came out, it was actually quite the young pup of an engine. The 3.6 liter made its debut in 2010 and was used in the Jeep Wrangler and Jeep Grand Cherokee, as well as pretty much every single other Chrysler product they managed to shove this thing into. Pick a Chrysler product from the last decade, and I can almost guarantee you that this engine was put in it at some trim level, whether that be the top trim like the Chrysler 200 or the base model Dodge Challenger. It is a 60-degree V6 and became Chrysler's workhorse after 2010 and replaced the 3.8 liter engine. I've never really particularly loved this engine, but I also don't hate it, and the owner said that so far in 130,000 miles, it's been reliable, so I can't knock it for that. Like I said, paired to it, 5-speed automatic. Now, the WK2 later got a 6-speed, but this is just the 5-speed. It's shifting fine and doing the job. Last but not least, the Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited is 4-wheel drive. However, you could find 2-wheel drive Jeep Grand Cherokees. So how's it feel to actually drive the WK2? It's a fine driving experience. I'm not really being blown away in any category. I also don't hate it. It is decently large. Forward visibility is ruined a little bit by these A-pillars. They are quite thick, like myself. However, I think the power is fine enough for this application. Yes, you can step up to the 5.7 liter Hemi, and of course later with the SRT8, they had the 6.4 liter V8. But for applications like this, driving it around town, not trying to break records at the local drag strip, the 3.6 liter does a dandy job. So that's out of the way. Let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 main gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. I also do get this little information gauge in the center. It's black and white. And in a modern car, I would feel like this was really cheap. However, 2012 was really the era where they first started offering gauge screens like this. So I can't really knock it too hard. This was somewhat cutting edge in this era. On the steering wheel on the left, I have my voice commands, phone options, and selectors for that gauge cluster screen we just talked about. And off to the right, I have my cruise control options. The overall steering wheel really reminds me of like the Jeep Commander from the era, or the Patriot, Liberty, vehicles like that. Looks very similar in those products. And off to the left, I do have a climate control vent, my headlight switches, gauge dimmer switches, and gas cap release. Moving on to the door, I do have a little handle to get in and out, as well as my power mirrors and power window options, including door lock and unlock. And moving into the center, I do get a little touchscreen radio. This does have a very early navigation system. It's nothing really too crazy. And I do have a CD and DVD player that I can open through this open and close feature, and it actually moves the screen out of the way. This is very typical of the late 2000s. This was a big gimmick that a lot of automakers thought could wow audiences, and it's just kind of funny to look back on. Then we do have the climate controls. I do get dual zone, which I am a big fan of, as well as fan speed, where to send it, all those goodies. And these buttons have actually held up really well in the last 13 years. Then we have traction control off, our hazard switch, our outlet on and off, and our parking sensors. on and off. All of the great adjustable goodies down below. However, we do have a couple dead switches because the Limited wasn't the base model, but it also wasn't a high trim level. Then we do have this openable cubby. I really like that. And there is a 12-volt outlet in there, which you actually get this arrow reminding you that it is in there because it's hard to see from the driver's position. Then we come to the center console. Off to the left is the shifter. I call these jigsaw shifters because there is no button. You just have to move it left or right to get it in and out of gear. You can't move it directly forward or directly backward. It always has to have two directions in order to change gear. It's a safety mechanism, but they don't have to engineer a button. And off to the right, we do have cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Jeep Grand Cherokee from 2012. And it doesn't sit all the way at the bottom, but the cup holder will hold my bottle in place while driving. So at the end of the day, I have to give the WK2 a pass on the big friggin' bottle test. Then I have a bunch of buttons down below that cup holder. I have my 4-wheel drive low button, as well as my snow mode, sport mode, sand and mud, and rock, as well as auto. These are my 4-wheel drive settings. Really nice to see that in a not hardcore off-roader like the Jeep Wrangler. This is just a regular average Joe vehicle, and it gets those nice options. Then we do have a center console, has 2 different compartments. I like that, so you can separate large objects and small objects. And then we gotta talk about the seats. The seats are leather. They are what I expect out of a Chrysler or Mopar product of this era, and I like them. They are pretty comfy, and that can be said about multiple other Jeep Grand Cherokees, past and present. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and a couple of things to note. First of all, leg room good, knee room good. I am getting blasted by some type of light. Maybe it's God. Anyway, the seating space back here is decent. Knee room good, headroom good. I also do have heated seats back here, which is really nice to see. I get giant climate control vents and that wall outlet that was controllable up front. So you actually get to use that back here. I also do have a fold out center console, 2 cup holders found in there, and I get to enjoy the sunroof, of which this isn't all the way back. Who are you? I get to enjoy, oh, wow, I'm really blasted now. I get to enjoy this giant sunroof. So I need to stop getting blasted by light. Let's hop out. Let's take a quick look at the trunk and tailgate because it has a really cool feature that I absolutely love. All right, so we're on the back of the Grand Cherokee, and it has something really cool. There's a button down here you can press, and it opens up the rear glass. I love when cars let you do this. However, in 2014, they took this option away, which is really dumb. This is one of my favorite things in cars, and yet they took it away. So we can look inside of here. Obviously, we can close that up. So if you have pets or anything rolling around, you don't have to let them fly out when you open the tailgate. Come down here, the actual handle to pull the full tailgate up. We do get a 12-volt outlet that only works when the vehicle is on, as well as we get a spare tire and some tools down below there. And overall, you'll have plenty of space in the back of the Grand Cherokee. Really nice stuff to see. I mean, this is one of the big cornerstones of the Grand Cherokee, but remember, this glass, they stopped doing this in 2014. So go a little bit earlier if you want this feature, which I highly recommend. One thing I forgot to mention is that the WK2 from 2011 up to 2022 actually came with a flashlight built in to the side of the cargo container. I forgot to mention it because I couldn't see it in the dark shadow. So here it is, and they made this all the way up until 2022. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is finished in a really dark blue. It looks black in most light. It's probably gonna look black in the video, but I want you to know personally it is actually a dark blue car as opposed to just a flat, boring black vehicle, and I really like seeing that. I like deep and interesting colors from Jeep, and they certainly did that here on the WK2. Overall, I really like the look of this Jeep. I think it has a very commanding look, not to steal the name of another vehicle they produce, produce the Commander, but I think it does hold a nice road presence. It's large and in charge, most certainly a lot larger than like the XJ or other Grand Cherokees that came before it, and I like that feeling. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited from 2012? Well, I have to say I've really enjoyed this experience, and I did have a big hesitation while driving this car. I tend to steer away from Jeep and Dodge products just because of reliability. I've owned several, and they haven't treated me as nice as other brands, just in terms of things going wrong and whatnot. Well, I'm happy to say that in this vehicle's 130,000 miles, it's only had really 3 issues, 2 of which have been the motor mounts going bad, and the 3rd issue was the power steering going out, all of which has been fixed. Not to mention, this vehicle somehow, miraculously, has a unlimited mileage warranty. So anytime something does break, they take it right to the dealer. But shockingly, things haven't really broken all that much. And so pairing that in mind, it's been a comfortable experience. It's relatively off-road capable if you want to build an overlanding rig or just something that you can take down a trail and not really fear too much about. This seems to be a pretty good option. I have to say, with good maintenance and a good owner, 130,000 miles has been very easily achieved, and I'm sure many, many more miles will be achieved in the future. And I wasn't expecting to say that about a Jeep product like this. Pairing it with that macaroni styling of rich nostalgia that I feel looking at these vehicles, I always think of my friend Adam, who used to drive one of these. This actually is a really good all-around car. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Mark for letting me take out his Jeep Grand Cherokee. Like I said, this was quite the eye-opening experience. And I'm always excited when I can change my opinions on a vehicle through experience and not just reading forum posts and having people tell me. So that's always a good thing, and this video was made possible by Mark. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.